Hello and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast, bringing you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. As always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor. Before we begin, you can jump around the podcast by using the timestamps in the description below. Conor, how's it going?
I'm doing all right, mate. You forgot to say you were Ben. Just going to point that out to you.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was trying to do it without, because obviously I'm very conscious that the video, we've got video on YouTube now, so you're able to see us while we're talking. And I'm just very conscious that I don't want to be sat there reading from a script. So I kept looking up at the camera, and I completely forgot. I got most of it right, except for apparently I forgot myself.
Well, to be fair, you were a late addition to the script. Early listeners of the podcast will remember that it took you many weeks to start introducing yourself.
I think it was a couple of months, to be quite honest, dude.
Yeah.
So some people were just like, who's this other person talking to Conor? We know Conor is. Well, who's this other person that is talking? But I am, in fact, Ben. Have you had a good week so far?
It's been all right. Had a stressful day yesterday, though.
Oh,
so no, nothing to do with YouTube. My password manager got hacked. So I use a password manager to store all my passwords and create secure long chain passwords that I don't have to remember, so I don't have to write them all down, and it stores it all for me. And it was super useful because it's all got autocomplete and stuff like that. But LastPass got hacked, and although they say none of your passwords got leaked, but all the websites that you have passwords for were stored in plain text. So all the information of all the websites where I have passwords for has been leaked, and it was just enough for me to go, okay, I've sat back on it a little while. My renewal is coming up anyway for my account, my subscription to it. And I was like, all right, let's do a transfer. So I had to move all of my passwords from one account manager to another, which is quite simple, actually. You can just download a file and upload it, which is both reassuring because, yay, it was easy, but also it was kind of a little bit too easy. But then, because I needed to be super secure, I had to go in and change all of my passwords.
No! All of them. I bet you've got hundreds.
It was 150 passwords. I sat there yesterday and went through and changed one by one. Okay, right. So are you like me where, you've got one, maybe two, sometimes three for legacy older websites? So you've only got like a maximum of 3 passwords? Or do you just have custom ones for everything? Why is it? My computer has just decided to switch you onto Discord now. We're having issues today, folks. I don't know what it is. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, let's. So for those of you that are on YouTube, right, we deserve a like because of the stress we've had trying to get this working. If you're listening on Spotify, the Apple Podcast, whatever your platform of choice is, leave a like, leave a review, let us know. We've had crashes, we've had internet dying, we have had my Word document just going all skewy for some reason. Hopefully, we're good to go. It's a good job we're not live streaming this, isn't it?
Oh my God, could you imagine?
There'd be an absolute.
I don't think that's on the table ever, guys. Just throwing that out there.
No chance. So anyway, people came here to hear the Pokemon news of the week. This week, we have said farewell to both the Wii and 3DS eShop. They closed earlier on Monday, the 27th of March. You will no longer be able to buy digital games on either platform, unless, of course, you have already previously purchased them. One thing is, how does this affect Pokemon? Well, Pokemon Bank was on there. So Pokemon Bank was the storage of choice before Pokemon Home came along for the 3DS that allowed you to bring in Pokemon from the 3DS games, but also the DS games, using a variety of methods, including...
And I'm pretty sure the virtual consoles as well.
Yes, Generation 1 and 2 of the virtual games you could bring to Pokemon Bank as well. So you could use Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transport to get, I think, pretty much everything except for the original Fire Red, Leaf Green, and the original Omega
Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald.
Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. So they were the only ones that you couldn't use that platform for to bring them in, but you could get them to where you needed to alternative ways.
Yeah.
The switch off didn't go as smoothly as everyone hoped. Pokemon Transporter was reporting a couple of bugs which made it unusable. Unfortunately, these have now been remedied, so that you can now use Pokemon Transporter. It's all free so long as you've downloaded them in the past. If you didn't, I think you're out of luck.
Too late.
To be honest with
That's
you.
it.
Too late.
That's it. You cannot get it. It
No.
has been well and truly Flappy Birded.
Flappy Bird. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's long gone.
On a similar note of if you have a DS now that doesn't have Pokemon Bank on it, your DS is worth less. It's not worthless, but it is worth less.
I wouldn't surprise me if we went onto eBay or something like that and there are already people selling these my 3DS with Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transporter. Like they did with Flappy Bird back in the day. Did you make sure you had these downloaded? Have you got a 3DS, actually?
So I've got a 3DS that was given to me because I had a DS console. It was one of the first consoles I ever bought for myself, and my brother broke it. He got really upset with Ruby one day and smashed the screen, punched it to death. I've got a 3DS that I got given, but I don't have a charger for it. So I don't have access to Pokemon Bank. No, that's it.
Right. Okay, so done and dusted. I have got Pokemon Bank and I have got Pokemon Transport. I've said this on the podcast before. When back in the day, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get back into Pokemon. I'm going to complete a Pokedex. So I bought a 3DS. I bought Omega Ruby and Pokemon X, and then went back and bought some of the older ones, including Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transport. And I basically used all those games to complete the Pokedex to fill up Pokemon Bank. Pokemon Home came along, so I transported them from Bank to Home. However, I have, on and off, been shiny hunting on Ultra Sun, I think it is, for the legendaries in the wormholes at the end of the game, because the odds are really good for legendaries. So I've got a few more that are in Pokemon Bank that I need to transport over to Home at the moment. The only problem is that Home costs a subscription, and I've not paid it in a while, so I can only access the basic box, which is full of shinies from Pokemon Go at the moment. So I do need to get round to doing that. I must say, though, the fact that, because they could have used this as an opportunity, shutting down the eShop just to go, no, that, like, anything pre-Nintendo Switch doesn't work anymore. We're just going to, we're going to bite the bullet, shut it down, done and dusted. The fact that, because there must be some servers running somewhere to store this and allow you to move the Pokemon over. So the fact that they've done this and then made it free, like, we have to give them credit for this.
Yes. The fact is they're still running it. The store shut down, but they're still running Pokemon Bank. Now, to be fair, Pokemon Bank has been not controversy-free over its lifetime, because they originally told us Pokemon Bank was going to be it, and then not long after that gave us Home, which is a little bit of a kick in the teeth anyway. And Home has a whole bunch of other issues, which we have spoken about before, where, it just takes forever for things to come online. It's a shame. For me, my biggest issue with this at the moment is not necessarily that, Bank isn't available anymore. It's that there is now no way to get those original games again. There's no legitimate way to get those original games.
Yeah.
So it should have been a case of, we're shutting this site down. You can now get it on the Switch instead. I cannot fathom why this isn't the case. But I also can't fathom the prices of these, by the way. You gave me an idea and I went looking. The cheapest model I can find, Nintendo 3DS Black, lifetime Pokemon Bank and Transporter subscription, £350.
Some people are just like, I don't think they're getting that much money, but like, if you're the first people are pushing it. 3DS XL SNES version.
Wow. Pokemon Bank working. Yellow and Crystal installed, £850.
Wow, that is a lot of money. But like, Game Freak and Nintendo, like, There's a market here for the old games and getting them on modern consoles. Like, this would have been the perfect time to go, yeah, okay, so Pokemon Bank now and Pokemon Transport and these old games and the eShop shutting down, it's rather complicated, but they're now available on the Switch really easily. Just go to the shop and you can get them. I still don't know why they've not done this, although people would then be complaining, probably rightly so, that, well, I bought these games on the 3DS and now I've got to buy them again on the Switch.
Why? No, okay.
If that happened,
counter argument.
Okay.
Why would you have to buy them again on the Switch?
Well, this is what I'm saying, that I don't think you should have to. Sorry. So what I'm saying is that they are both like, okay, so you've got the 3DS and you've got the Nintendo Switch. It's not like you're buying one on a Sony machine and one on a Microsoft machine and they don't share information. There is some level of connectivity between the generations of consoles that Switch releases. So why would you have to buy the exact same game if it functions the exact same way on a newer console?
Why are you buying these games anyway in that case if you've already had Red and Blue in your past?
Yes.
So argument, again, playing completely devil's advocate here because I don't necessarily disagree with you. Skyrim has been bought by the same person on multiple different consoles and generations over the years. People like owning it on different stuff, and if you have it on the 3DS, it's not going anywhere. That's it. You own it. It's there now. The shop is closed down. You still have access to it. You still have access to Pokemon Bank, as we said. There's no problem. You can have that game. It can come out on the Switch, and you are not losing out on any functionality of anybody who has it on the Switch. You do not need to buy the games again. However,
you're right.
If you didn't have it on the 3DS, there is now no legal way of purchasing them other than secondhand.
So off to the high seas with us, eh?
I didn't say that. You can go secondhand. That's fine.
Okay, I'll just do that.
If Nintendo want to get my money,
yes,
then they need to step up and provide.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember when they bought out the Gen 1 and Gen 2 games on the 3DS, and I thought, oh, they're a bit pricey, and the only one that I did buy was Yellow. And the reason I bought Yellow is because, at the time, I didn't have Mew and I wanted Mew. Only to find out that the glitch you could use to get Mew in that game, you couldn't send it through to Pokemon Bank, but you could with Red and Blue for whatever reason. So I only own Yellow on that console. But, there was no way I was going to buy all of them because of the price tag.
Yeah.
But, I get why they did the price so high, because people are willing
that's
to
what
pay
they're
for
worth
it.
On the secondhand market.
Yeah, but the fact that people are willing to pay for these, and we know, Game Freak loves money. The Pokemon company loves money. Nintendo everyone loves money. If you could have more money, you'd have more money, wouldn't you? So why are they not? Why are they still? We've asked this question before. Why are they still not releasing these on the Switch?
So my only thought process is that they somehow haven't got a trading system working, because it can't be an emulator issue, because they've got a Game Boy emulator on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I'm not being funny, Nintendo have been caught before just downloading ROMs from the internet and selling them to people. So they're not above it.
No.
Yeah, I have to assume it's a trading problem. And, people would be upset if you couldn't trade from, Switch console to Switch console, or even amongst your own games and things like that. Maybe not amongst your own games. I don't know how. Yeah, they gotta have it integrate with home. I think that's the problem they're at now. Is if they're gonna add any emulation in now, it's got to integrate with home, and that in and of itself is going to take 6 years at home's pace.
Well, you're absolutely right. The speed that they roll out the ability to transfer Pokemon from modern day games to Pokemon Home takes forever. So I dread to think what it's like for the old games, bringing them to a modern console. And I'd imagine, because I'd imagine part of the problem is you need somebody who understands Pokemon Home and how that works, understands the Switch and how that works, understands the old games and how they work, and the consoles that they ran on, and the emulators and how they work, because there are probably loads of layers that you have to jump through. It's not as simple as just pointing Pokemon Home at, Pokemon Red on the from the eShop and just going, okay, talk to one another. I'd imagine it really isn't that simple,
especially considering it's not Game Freak that works on Pokemon Home.
Yes. Yeah, it's another company. I don't know the name of them off the top of my head.
I think it's the same guys who did BDSP, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Ilka. Ilka made Pokemon Home.
Wow. Okay. Wait. Didn't it take forever for BDSP to connect with it?
Yes, it did.
I didn't know. Right, I didn't know. That just makes the whole situation even more hilarious now, because like, wait, you developed both of them, but you couldn't get them working straight. Fine, whatever. But like, that's probably one of the reasons why the Gen 1 and Gen 2 games, people were willing to buy them for that price, because it was like, okay, I can't transfer the original Pokemon that I had back in the day from those games, but I can replay it, and I can catch those Pokemon, give them the same nicknames, bring them through on the adventure, and then transport them into Home to use in modern day games. So it's really, really disappointing that we're still not getting it. We thought we were going to get it on Pokemon Day earlier on this year, and we didn't, unfortunately. But as I said, credit the fact that you're still able to use this if you've already purchased it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even be opposed to the idea. Like, I don't know. I am not a game developer. First and foremost, I don't know how easy this would be, but could you do like a Pokemon Home emulator? Or a Pokemon Bank emulator on the Switch?
Yeah.
So they effectively go, okay, we're not making Pokemon Yellow through Crystal work with the Switch. We're not making it work directly with Home, but we're bringing Bank to the Switch instead. So you still use Bank, and then Bank goes up to Home. Oh, and by the way, start paying for Bank again. So if you have it on the 3DS, you've got it for free for life. But if you buy these games on the Switch, then you need to pay for Bank again and Home.
So I think that was the reason why they didn't bring Bank to the Switch. Because if they brought Bank to the Switch and up the price, people would going, hold on a second, like, there's no real difference between the two outside of you can now bring more Pokemon in from the later generations. I think that was part of the reason why they went, okay, Pokemon Bank is on the 3DS and Pokemon Home is on the Switch, because then it's a completely separate product. We can charge however much we want for it and it will bring all these quality of life features, which, I mean, I don't know if people have used Pokemon Home, but like, I actually found Pokemon Bank better in, I think, every single way, just in terms of its ease of use, how it looked. Like Pokemon Home, the fact that you can use it to trade Pokemon. Well, the system back in the day when I first started using it to trade Pokemon was absolutely shocking. The fact that you couldn't really narrow down what you were looking for, or what you were trying to trade for, and the fact that you could only trade one Pokemon unless you had one Pokemon on the free subscription. Or if you had more money, if you paid, you could then trade up to 3, I think it was. Like, there is no way they bring Bank to the Switch, because I think it opens up a range of complexities in terms of people going, hold on a second, so you could have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, but in theory, it's no different to what we've had. It's two different services. It's just moving one onto a different console. Yeah, people have already been paying for the two different services. I can understand your argument of like, well, retroactively, why couldn't we have moved Bank onto the Switch in the first place and then just built off that? Which is a fair argument, and one we can always take up with Game Freak. But I'm just trying to think how we move forward from here. And I don't think there's a clear answer that won't wind a lot of people up.
No, exactly. You know what?
That being said, this is a win. The fact that Pokemon Bank is still Pokemon Bank is continuing, despite the fact that the shop is closed and it's now free forever.
Well,
forever
that's
in
it, yeah.
forever in big quotation marks, though.
Eventually, it will shut down. It's a matter of when, I think, not if.
It is a service you are renting. Just because the rent is now free doesn't mean you are not renting it.
Yeah, but the fact is, like, I like to think they will continue it for a long time, simply because if they were going to shut it down, they would have done it with this. It made sense.
This would have been it.
This would have been it. You take your bit of bad PR and people complaining for a bit, and then in a year or two time, people forget all about it and then move on to the next Pokemon thing. So it makes me think that they are keeping it around. Shall we move on to the next topic?
Let's do that.
So this is one thing that I didn't think we'd be reporting on, simply because it seems so, like, bizarre. So, a Pokemon card player, TCG player, was disqualified after a pronoun kerfuffle. So, 17-year-old, and I'm going to butcher this name, I apologize, Makani Tran, I believe, lost out on $800, 2 flights, and time off school after his time at the Charlotte Pokemon Regional was cut short. So, according to Tran, as he walked over to the stream area, because this fight was going to be streamed, a judge asked him what his preferred pronouns were, and he seemed to fumble over his words. He awkwardly laughed twice when asked to share his pronouns. This resulted in the Pokemon cards judge taking issue, apparently, and reportedly saying, "Okay, just wanted to check to be safe. I go by they, them, so don't be a jerk about it." So a bit into the match, they were pulled off stage by the head judge and told that another match would be streamed instead. And Tran was disqualified from the tournament. So, what do you make of all this?
So, if people are wondering why we're reporting on this, because, we don't always talk about controversies within regionals and stuff like that, it's because we talked about the judge who got a lifetime ban for something of a similar ilk not too long ago. And we were both very much behind that of like, that was out of line. That judge should not have said the things he said, and rightly so. Bye. I don't know if this kid deserved it. Now, to clarify, we only have his side of it.
Yes.
A lot of the article that we're reading through here is discussing his twit longer that he reported himself. So Tran's own accounts on the matter. His opponent that he was facing at the time, who he got the disqualification from, did also come out and say, I don't think he should have been disqualified. Yeah. However, you're only getting his side of this, of what happened. And unfortunately, because of the rules within Pokemon, we're never going to get the judges' side. Judges aren't allowed to come forward with these kind of issues, apparently. They're not allowed to go public. I don't know why, but apparently that's a thing. So all we can talk about is Tran's own experience. It's a really... Can we just point out the elephant in the room?
Of all the names to have.
Of all the names!
Of all the names to have. Right. this happens. The fucking... If you'd never been asked that before, right? And we spoke about this before the podcast started, as we tend to do. We talk about things. And I was like, you're a kid. He's 17. So he's almost an adult, but he's a kid, regardless how you look at it. Gets up on stage. He's going to have a match. He's already at regionals. There's nerves there. Now it's getting streamed. Okay, nerves are higher. And then somebody goes, what's your pronouns? Sorry, what? That's literally the last thing I was thinking about right now. He, him. And to be fair, the kid, Tran, I keep calling him the kid. I feel bad for that. Tran turns around and says, like, I said he, him, and then got stuck thinking there should be a third one. Yeah. And
that's why I laughed. Which is, again, fair. Some people don't get asked this a lot. Sure, it's becoming more common now. As we spoke about last time, judges are having to do more training, but players don't do training. Players are just people who show up and they fumble. It's not... It seems excessive.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know the extent of the situation. As I said, we only have one side of the argument, but it seems excessive to just turn around and be like, nope, that's it. Your trip's over.
Yeah, it's a real shame, actually, that this has happened. Mainly because, like, thinking of it from the, trans point of view, if he's probably excited, he's coming along to this tournament, nerves and being on edge, and then for it to fall down on something that, from what we can see from the outside looking in, is not even an accident implies that, like, something went wrong, but he literally just, like, okay, I'm a bit like, just trying to think on the spot and having an awkward laugh. And people react to things in different ways. Some people might shut down, some people might cry, some people might laugh. Like, I've been in, like, dark situations before where, like, the body's ability to use humor as a defense mechanism. I had to say this the other day and I couldn't say
mechanism.
The fact that, like, laughing is a way to sometimes just try and diffuse a situation or almost reset your brain and go, okay, right, I'm back in the zone and trying to think. Like, I feel sorry that, he's been asked to share his pronouns, been put on the spot in a tense situation, and then this has happened. And it's like, I go on.
I was going to say, the thing is, you could, again, you could read this a complete different way of, this is just some guy trying to get himself out of it. And the way it actually went down was a little bit more malicious. And he went, well, he, him. Why wouldn't it be he, him? Look at me. Do I not look like a he, him? But he follows up. The judge said that while he believed that I had no bad intentions, it didn't matter because at the end of the day, someone was offended and upset. The judge said that while he believed I had no bad intentions. That's it. That's all that's required.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the judge is actually, like, stated, okay, right.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think he was having a go at me, but it still upset me nonetheless. And it's like, well, not... It's such a dodgy ground because, again, I am fully, like, trans rights all the way, happily, please. I have made that clear on my own channel many times. But if you're upset and offended, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, if he'd come out and if somebody hasn't gone out of their way to offend you and you have taken offense, then it's your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a really unfortunate situation for Tran because, like, at that age as well, this is going to it could really knock him, and it might.
Well, you might never want to do it again. You might never want to play again.
That's it. And he might go, you know what? Actually, this has just, like, soured my whole experience of Pokemon, especially because, like, if you are going to be at a tournament. And the news after, you want to be in that news cycle. You want it to be for the right reasons. I've won, or I came second place, or, you know what, I didn't do really well, but I made a quirky play that people are talking about. Like, you don't want your name to be out there because a judge took offense to something that you said that was seems like a non-issue, to be quite honest with you.
And let's not forget that this is the internet, where he has probably got it from all sides. Probably people attacking him for things they've decided he said. Or, and again, this is pure speculation, but we all know how the internet works. Or people backing him up who he probably doesn't want backing him up.
No, honestly, like, so on the news article we've got, there's a couple of embedded tweets from Tran himself.
Okay.
And I just refuse to go to Twitter because the comments are an absolute cesspit of, like, there's never anybody who's in the center going, okay, this is how it is. You've either got people on one side or people on the other side who just like, seriously, not everyone needs to have an opinion. And I know that's like quite hypocritical of me doing a podcast and talking about things. And people sometimes do want to hear other people's voices. But, like, don't go to Twitter for those voices, please. Anyway, let's talk about a happy ending, I guess, even though, like, we shouldn't have actually have had to get here.
But yeah.
yeah, so a GoFundMe's been set up to replace some of Makani Tran's expenses, and it's already surpassed its goal of $1,500 by over $1,000. So, like, at least there is some good to come out of a bad situation that didn't need to be bad.
Yeah, he got the money that he spent going out to these regionals, but he's lost those points.
Yeah,
he's probably lost a lot of faith within the Pokemon system. And the one that I would really worry about is whether this sticks with him and whether he feels like he has been ostracized by people who use pronouns. Because I know I would. And again, I've had things like this in the past where you get attacked by someone who may well be like best intentioned, and in a lot of ways, I may agree with you on a lot of points, but the way you approach this situation makes me disagree with you on your points suddenly, because that's what we do as people. We get defensive and we... I don't know. I don't know. No. None of us know Tran, but we wish him the best and hope that this doesn't mar his experience and love of Pokemon too much.
Definitely. Should we move on to the next topic?
Yes. Sticking with Pokemon TCG, League Challenge tournaments are back! So, for those of you who don't know, the League Challenge tournaments are small events. They are entry-level events, and they're held on a local scale. So, usually these are held at local game stores. These are ways for local players and people who aren't sort of confident enough with their own playstyle to go to regionals to get some experience at an actual Pokemon tournament that can qualify you in the long run. It can gain you points towards qualification for Worlds.
Okay, I can't wait to rock up to one of these with my Sun and Moon practice deck.
Okay, no, because
just sweep it.
Standard legal.
Oh, okay.
Official tournament, because that's the thing. It's an official tournament. Okay. It is held in local game stores through Play Pokemon. Yeah, this is huge. This is big news. They were sort of taken offline because of COVID. Perfectly understandable. Nobody can argue with that. When I started getting back into TCG last year, I went to my local game store and the conversation came up and they said, nope, they're just not doing it anymore. They've decided they don't want to do it. They are now back. This is great. It's such a little bit of news, but I'm so happy about it. I love it.
Good. So will you be attending one of these near you if they're on?
All of my decks have already rotated out. Like the deck that I bought to be part of Standard at the end of last year is now out of rotation again.
Right, okay. So you need to go out
the meta
and
is so hard to keep up with.
Oh, I dread to think what the meta's like. It's one of the reasons why when I play TCG online, I just play with the standard decks and face people with the standard decks, because I have seen some of the tournaments. And I actually, on TCG Online, I entered one of the tournaments where you could use custom decks, and I got absolutely rinsed in probably about 10 turns, if that. I got absolutely spanked. And as much as I would love to build a competitive and viable deck, I don't think I've got the time or the money to be able to do that, unfortunately. Yeah. So as this is great news for some people. For me, unfortunately, it just makes me realize I'm missing out.
And that being said, as of today, not day of recording, day of release, Scarlet and Violet set is now out.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, our first Scarlet and Violet TCG set is now live. Okay. Which means the format is changing massively because we're getting a whole new mechanic in here.
Oh, what's the new mechanic?
We're getting the terrestrialized Pokemon.
Wait, hold on. So how does this work then? Could you get a Charmander card that's actually grass?
No. So certain Pokemon are terrestrialized, and as far as I've seen at the moment, most of them are terrestrialized into their own typing. So you get like a Water Terror Gyarados, a Fire Terror Arcanine. Okay. They have, I think, they've got immunity whilst on the bench or something. I'll have to double check that and get back to you.
Okay, so it doesn't.
But they have one ability from what I remember.
Okay, so it doesn't function like terrestrialization in the games.
No. Well, not yet, anyway.
Right, okay. That might be coming later on down the line. Maybe. So
Yes.
are you planning on collecting this deck? These cards?
No, I can't afford to collect. I'm not
That's
a collector.
the problem. That's the problem.
Here's the thing. I'm more of a player. I think if I'm going to get Pokemon cards, it's because I want to play Pokemon cards. That's the fun I get out of them. Sure, I like opening some packs and getting some rare cards, but realistically, they go in boxes and sit on shelves, and I never look at them. You know, I'm not somebody who keeps binders and binders full. So it's actually better for me to wait for the end of the season and then pick up the League Battle decks, which are just the best value competitive decks that you can have.
Oh,
You pick up a couple of those, and you've got a fully functioning deck, and that's it. You're good to go to a locals tournament.
Oh, okay, right. Suddenly that's something that I'm interested in. Then, if
we could talk about this because I don't know if Mew is still. Oh no, I think Mew would be out of it now. But yeah, there was a Mew VMAX League Battle deck that they released not long ago, and it gave you, I think it was 2 Mew V, 2 Mew VMAX, and 2 Genesect V.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of cards that was most of the deck that you required to have, like, one of the strongest decks in format.
Oh, okay. Right.
So you could buy 2 of those. They're about 30 quid each. But you could buy 2 of those, and suddenly you've got a £200 deck for 60 quid. It's really good.
Okay, right. I'm going to look into this then.
You can then bring it into live.
Right. Okay. I'm going to look into this because, like, I'm sure I was like a lot of people growing up where I had the Pokemon cards, and unlike all of my friends, I was the only one that knew how to play. Everyone else just collected that. They just wanted the set. They didn't want to learn how to play. I taught myself how to play, but I had no one to play with. And I remember getting the CD. Do you remember that CD that you got?
Yeah, with the horrible woman on it.
Yeah,
horrible little girl.
Yeah. And I remember playing online and thinking, this is absolutely amazing. And when I got older and I introduced my daughter to Pokemon, and you know, she was like, "Oh, a Pokemon trading card game," and being able to collect the cards. And I said to her, "You do know you can battle with these?" And we have about 10 decks, I think, that we've just picked up over time. And every now and again, we'll just play with the decks. And she always tries to cheat because she'll go, "I'll pick yours, Dad." I'm like, right, okay.
You're gonna pick the type that's worse to me.
I always end up with a Rillaboom deck, and she always ends up with a Cinderace deck. It's funny how that works, isn't it? But like playing against real people, like seeing them in front of you and pointing down the card, like it's something that I want to experience so much. So the fact that I can potentially pick up a deck for relatively cheap and be able to play someone, you know, locally, I want to do this. This is something I want to do this year.
Yeah, man, it's totally worth it.
Good.
And for any of you who are listening at home who have maybe gone out and bought a starter deck and tried to go to locals, that's a rough time, buddy. Yeah, there are better ways to do it. And you know, because I did the same thing. Sorry, it's story time. I did a similar thing when I was into Magic the Gathering. A lot of my friends would buy boxes and boxes and boxes of these stuff, you know, £100 a pop for 36 packs or whatever it was.
Okay.
And, you know, they'd pull these cards, and I'm like, okay, cards are nice, but what can you do with that? You can't build a deck out of that, or if you can, it's not particularly powerful. And yeah, I can go out and buy, I can't remember what they were specifically called on Magic the Gathering, but it was similar kind of principle where it's like, these are mostly battle ready, mostly local ready. You know, it's maybe not got as many copies of the top cards as you'd want in a full powered deck, but it's got the cards in there for 30 quid. And that's all it took me to be like, I'm just undefeated now amongst my friendship groups. And like, oh, you just paid to win. It's like, no, I did the exact opposite, actually. I paid £30 to play a game that you've put hundreds into.
Yeah, you can't... I can't imagine most people build a deck by buying a shed load of packs.
Remember, kids, adults buy singles.
Yeah, because buying the packs is like, if you are trying to complete the set, it makes sense up to a point to buy the packs, I think. And then you get to the almost that tipping point where you're buying packs and most of them are duplicates. And like, usually they're all the common ones that you can't do anything with. So like, yeah, I can completely understand the fact that there is a market for, yeah, you can pretty much buy a viable deck and maybe just top it up or tweak a few things. So yeah, completely down. I can't wait for this. Can't wait to find out more.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about this after.
Agreed. Let's move on to the last news topic of the week. Pokemon anime. It's the end of an era. Ash's final episode aired. Just need to point out, no spoilers because neither of us have watched it, because we will get around to it as part of our weekly Pokemon anime discussion. But the question I've got is, can you believe this has happened? Like, no, it's sunk in.
I can't, it took me by surprise. Let me tell you that.
The news that Ash was retiring.
Oh, right. No, okay. I thought
we
were doing I don't know. I thought we were doing a thing where it was a case of like, haha, let's pretend that we've seen it and just react. I was just playing along.
See, we can't see each other's webcams, but I'd love to be able to have seen your face then, just a moment of panic, and then like, okay, just go along with this. Let's just ad-lib. Let's just improv. So yeah, it was a great episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, fantastic.
I can't believe that he's Giovanni's son, though. That was just what?
I mean, we waited 25 years to find out who Ash's dad is. I'm just glad they covered it in the final episode.
Honestly, the fact that Pikachu was Ditto all along.
Long. Whoa! That's why it was so strong. Yes. Yes, Ash has left. No, I can't believe it. Is the honest answer. It's obviously been a long time coming, but
I thought he was going to be around forever. Like, because
it certainly felt that way.
It had gone on for that long, and like, yeah, I maintain what I've said in previous episodes. I'm really excited for the new anime. It is giving me a lot of positive vibes and feelings at the moment, and I think they have a really good plan with it, from what I've seen, so I'm really looking forward to it. I just remember us starting this podcast, and I remember us talking on a couple of episodes just saying, yeah, they're not going to get rid of Ash. Why would you get rid of Ash? He's been the staple of it for so long, and he is so just recognizable to the point where, funnily enough, I had to design an Easter egg box with my daughter for school, and she wanted to do a Pokemon themed one. So I got loads of the sprites and stuff printed out, put it in a shoebox. And one of the characters was Red, so I put Red in there. So then when we were having tea, I asked Moles, I was like, do you know who that is? And credit to her, someone that doesn't know Pokemon outside of just like secondhand knowledge from hearing from me and my daughter, her response wasn't Red, so she was wrong, but her response was Ash. So the fact that she, who doesn't know Pokemon, doesn't follow Pokemon, knew the name Ash and connected it with Pokemon, like, says a lot about that character.
Yeah. I was going to sit there and go, arguably, he's as famous as Pikachu. That's just not true. But for those of us who have grown up with the series, have watched it at some point in our lives, yeah, Ash is synonymous with the franchise. And I think for a long time to come, will be. I would be surprised if they didn't bring him back.
Oh,
I'm not saying full time, but no. I can't imagine them not cameoing him.
Agreed. I'd imagine he will be like what I can see happening, and I don't know if they'll go this way, but it kind of makes sense. Is and I think we've discussed this before. We've been doing the podcast for nearly a year now, so some things are going to come up again, and we're going to forget. Is that like the Power Rangers? Every new set of heroes does a handover episode for the next set, so it's like it's almost the passing of the torch. And it really wouldn't surprise me if we get something like that in the new series where either they bump into Ash or he's just a passing character. There will be some kind of connection. Ash is no longer the main character, but I could see him cameoing every now and again in all upcoming series.
And it's even more likely now, as we have found out, that although, yes, Liko is from Paldea, she is at a boarding school called the Indigo Academy in Kanto. So that is apparently where her hairpin comes from, because it is a reference not to Ash, but to the Indigo League, which is why it's an L. And if we look back at like the earlier seasons, we find out as well that Ash's hat is an Indigo League specific hat because he sent in a bunch of postcards.
Yeah, he won in a competition, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she seems to be in a Kanto Academy, which we have to assume is run by the Indigo League. In some form, in some manner, shape, or form. One assumes they've got a similar tie with the Academy as, like, the Academy has with the Pokemon League in Paldea. You know, those two are very, very hand in hand. We're not entirely sure why yet. Hopefully that gets explored more in the DLC. Or it could, you know, those kind of things could be explored more in the series. That could be a case of... Because Pokemon schools have always been questionable.
We've said it. You mean the lack thereof, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, we brought it up many, many times over the last year of how does this work? And I think if they were going to go, no, now it's a case of like, you know, we've seen normal schools and we've seen Pokemon-centric schools in like the Sun and Moon, and now we're going to get Pokemon schools but that are funded by the league. So the league is funneling money into training up the next generation. Is that what the case is? Because there's a lot of my writer brain is going off going, yeah, there's lots of interesting stories there about like who's funding the education of our children and why. They're probably not going to go down that route because this is Pokemon.
This is Pokemon. They rarely have those hard hitting, like, thought-provoking attitudes or questions, but when they do, they just they just glance right by them and don't.
Yeah, that's true. Although, again, they've got a lot more adult characters this season. It's not just Roy and Liko. You've got the whole, what is it, Rising Vault Techlers.
Or
not Tacklers.
Vault-Techers,
sure. So I hope they do look into exploring some not darker themes, but deeper themes.
Maturer, maybe. Like, if you are going to have, like, because let's look at the Vault-Techers. There's 5 of them, right? There's 5 of them, and then you've got Roy and Liko. So that's, 7 characters. 5 of the 7 main characters are adults. Like, so surely you can have, adult themes, mature themes, without it taking away from the fact that it is Pokemon.
And I can't tell, but I have a feeling that Roy and Liko are a little bit older than Ash.
I can't tell either, but age is a strange thing when it comes to children in the anime. Yeah, and they could, I think, quite easily go, these two are 14, and I don't think anyone would question it. No one would go, well, no, actually, they look a lot younger. Like anime characters, that the age is always kind of in flux, almost, that you can get away with saying they're older or younger than they are. And you know what? Yeah, give us mature Pokemon. I would be down for that.
I'm even up for the idea of like it again, the kids following a more kid-centric story, and that's where the focus is. And in the background, there's this other plot, more chronological, actual bigger story going on with the adults.
I like that.
Doesn't necessarily become the focus, but is constantly there in the background for the older audience, which they know is there. They're well aware that they're there.
I like that idea, actually, because like one of the criticisms of I guess if I haven't watched a load of the anime, but like the first season of Journeys was that the Eternatus plot felt very kind of rushed at the end, where instead of laying all the groundwork it was just, okay, now you've got a couple of episodes where this is the main threat. And what I would like to see is that it is, those odd episodes throughout the season where you are building more and more to it. So at the end of the story, the end of the series, it feels like a natural conclusion rather than just, a smaller movie, for lack of a better word or a better phrase. And if you're going to do mature themes, I think you need to do that. You need to be able to lay the groundwork for the big finale, whatever that might be. And I do hope that, the fact that they have taken, and like, this is a brave step, taking Ash away from the anime, because there will be people that follow his story. And whenever you go, okay, away with the old guard, in with these new characters, you do provide a jumping on point for people, but you also provide a easy out for people to go, you know what? I'm kind of done with the anime now because the character that I grew to know and love is departed, and therefore I'm not going to continue following the anime. So this is a risk. So if you're going to do a risk, you might as well take larger risks and go, okay, let's mix up the format. And they did that in Journeys. They've moved away from the typical, okay, Ash is just doing the badges and going through Galar, and they explored, not the entire world, but the world that we know up to this point. They did a tournament. They had Go as, his side adventures. You had Chloe coming in with her adventures as well. They have done a lot to shake up the anime, and I hope they continue to do it with the new series.
Yeah. Couple of other little bits that we've had given to us. We finally got the villain's name revealed. Or, well, I say a villain. He has been presented to us as a villain so far. The guy with the Saru ledge is called Amatheo. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Amatheo. He is a member of the Explorers. Who are possibly, I don't know, every fiber of my being is going, well, they want you to think it's the evil team.
I can see that.
They're going to be the antagonists. Let's put it that way. They seem to have an interest in Liko's pendant. That's what we know. But
right.
Considering we don't know what Liko's pendant is yet, that doesn't tell us much.
No. So what I quite like about this is we've got this team of explorers, and the rising Vault-Techers feel very much like, why else would you have a floating airship if not to explore? Which makes me think they probably have
rival
the same
squads.
Yeah, I'm thinking that these two teams have the same goals but different methods.
Yeah.
And that is why we're seeing so much of the Vault-Techers in promotional material, is because actually they are going to play a large part of this. And it wouldn't... Honestly, like, I think the first episode and setting it up is almost... The reason that Liko goes with the Vault-Techers is because the Explorers come to her for the pendant, and it causes a commotion. The Vault-Techers save her, and the Vault-Techers explain, well, this is what we're doing. Do you want to come with us? And that almost sets the scene of, okay, the Explorers aren't bad guys, so to speak, but maybe their methods are questionable.
Yeah, they are a threat.
Yeah.
In one sense or another.
Yeah.
Other members of the Explorers, we have Konya and Zir. Again, no official pronunciations yet. That's what I'm going with. Interesting characters. Zir is a male, and Konya is a female. Very cool character designs, actually. I quite like the female character design. And Konya will be carrying around a Golduck, and Zir a Rhydon. Two Kanto Pokemon.
Yeah, interesting that. Not quite sure. Not like, I get that. Like, one thing I do like about the anime is the fact that when they go to a new region, it isn't just here's the new region, which is, what they've done well with Journeys. But I would like to see more Paldean Pokemon, or at least Pokemon that maybe haven't been given limelight in previous, anime. And I kind of feel like Rhydon and Golduck, we've seen a lot of them both in the anime and the games. So I would have liked to have seen, okay, who could you bring in instead? But I'm sure there'll be reasons. I mean, I think I would have been okay if maybe one of them was Kanto and one of us from a different region, because then it fits with the theme of explorers.
Because I think, realistically, we've got the 3 starters between our 2 main characters, and then the villain's got a Ceruledge. And then all the other characters we've seen so far don't have anything to do with Paldea.
No, true.
Which is, it's a way forward. Again, we've said a couple of times, Journey was a step in the right direction for Pokemon. I liked the jet setting around the world kind of thing, but Galar suffered for it. And I worry that Paldea will suffer for this.
I agree.
And Paldea desperately needs some fleshing out.
Oh yeah, definitely. The fact that I absolutely just reiterate your points that Galar, I was really looking forward to seeing Galar in the anime, and it kind of got shortchanged because of the whole we're exploring the world, which, there are good things about that, because you get to go back to other areas, you get to experience nostalgia for, things that you've seen in the anime before. Like, there is a balance to be had, and I don't think Journey's got the balance right. I hope this new series does get the balance right of new and old. One question I've got for you: what is this outfit, this Nidorina outfit that we saw in the trailer as well?
Hang on, there is a name for it. Fake Arena, I think, or something. Hang on, I literally just had it up, and I wanted to talk to you about it.
Okay,
because we briefly saw it in one of the trailers, and I think we both said on the podcast, like, what is this? Nido Thing.
Nido Thing. Okay.
It's Nido Thing. They are a streamer. Assumedly, I think.
Wait, do you think it's Iono in disguise?
I don't know if it's Iono. I think they're on the same kind of wave as Iono, though. Okay. This is it's this VTubing. So it's mascot tubing. There you go. It's going to be a thing. Mascot tubing.
Like, so the only so a couple of things that make me think of Iono with this is, one, the fact that they already have a voice actor for this character if they wanted, because we got voice acting for Iono in the promotional material leading up to Generation 9. The fact that, like, this seems like something she would do. The fact that her pose is kind of similar to some of the poses she strikes in the games, and then when you look at the background, it is very colourful with the stars and the circles and stuff. Like, I there's a lot here that makes me think, is Iono, like in previous generations, like when we had Clement, for example, as a prominent gym leader in Kalos, and, when they bring along, like Brock and Misty back in the day, they bring along certain gym leaders and flesh them out a bit more. Is Iono going to be that for the Paldean region? Is that the one that we're going to get the focus on this season?
Not sure. All we know for sure is that Liko is one of their biggest fans.
Right, okay, interesting. There's a lot. I'm loving this anime so far, and I'm looking forward to it.
And we haven't even seen it yet.
Well, exactly.
And we're not going to for a little while.
No, it's gonna be a while, unfortunately. But I am looking forward to when we can talk about it on this podcast. But at the moment, we are stuck with, I say stuck as if it's a bad thing, we are stuck with Pokemon Ultimate Journey. Should we move on to the weekly episode discussion?
Let's do that.
So, if you are new to this, basically, we watch 3 episodes of the anime, and then we talk about it, what we liked, what we didn't like. So, up first is episode 16, Radio Lulled the Mischievous Stars, which I love the play on words for this title, a play on, video killed the radio star. Absolutely love that. So, this episode starts off with Team Rocky just breaking the fourth wall, literally telling the usual voiceover to basically go away and then removing them. And we get to discover that Team Rocket have a undercover kingdom radio, which
they're initially using as a recruitment tool, thing for Team Rocket, which is not unheard of. Team Rocket have taken over the radio station before.
Yeah. Which I quite like, but choosing Team Rocket for... But okay, right. This is the funny thing, though. Like, I was about to say, why would you choose Team Rocket to do this? But they prove throughout the episode they have a knack for it.
Yeah. By the end of the episode, they've got, like, everybody across Kanto listening to them.
Like, literally
for
everybody.
For some reason.
So it's revealed in the episode that this is an order from the boss who wants to do recruitment, increase recruitment numbers. It's not working to start with. As Rotom rightly points out, they have 0 listeners, 0 applications, and 0 playback. So not off to a great start. So we get a montage of them perfecting the radio show, including giving listeners who send in questions items. Maybe that's what we should do for questions in the future on the podcast. Who knows? And it works with the commentator telling us that they're now being listened to. New segments include what's in Pelipper's mouth, which is more Pico in this episode. We get more Pico ASMR, which okay, fine, whatever. Not something that I'm interested in whatsoever. If you like it, you do you. It's not for me. People start to write in, including a man's daughter who's
a man writes in about his daughter who is getting very fascinated with Pokemon, and he feels like he's losing her.
That's right.
Which of course turns out to be good old Professor.
Yeah, and
who's a super fan apparently, and is just like one of their biggest writers.
There are multiple super fans, so we get a montage of them like all over the world, people listening. We get Brock out in the wild listening to him. We get Ren, the lab assistant. We got Officer Jenny, Nurse Joy. The person writing
Officer Jenny of all people.
Officer Jenny of all people, yeah. And then the Professor Cerise that is writing in is Mr. Are You Lonely Tonight?
That's so weird.
It's a
weird name for a married man.
It is yeah, true actually. It's a really weird episode where I remember coming out of it thinking, oh, that's okay, right. Bit of a nothing episode, but I like thinking back on it. I actually enjoyed it.
I did. I think one of the issues I have with it, it seems really harsh to say, but I don't think the jokes translated very well. It's one of those where the jokes clearly were written for Japanese, and it's an issue I've kind of had with Team Rocket for the last couple of seasons. Is because they're more expressive and because they're more animated, they just don't translate quite as well with their comedy.
Okay. I can understand. I do get where you're coming from, actually. It feels like
the jokes are very regional specific.
Yeah.
And then it's animated to those jokes, and then they're trying to like weave it backwards.
So as
it doesn't always work.
Yeah, so as somebody who's only watched the first couple of series where they got to Johto, dropped off when they went to Hoenn, and then picked it back up for Journeys. It feels like very much that in the original series, the jokes were aimed towards kids, even though there were the regional things going on, but they were aimed towards kids. Whereas in the last couple of series, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is almost like there are some jokes in there for adults, but like you say, they don't translate well.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's an adults thing. I think it's just like. So, weirdly enough, the one I always remember is, like, from the first movie, they make a Minnesota Vikings joke, which is obviously for an American audience, because go Minnesota Vikings. I believe they're a football team. We're not American. I'm sorry, guys. My voice may fool you, but no. But that's very clearly the dubbing agency went, no, we're just going to rewrite these jokes and we're going to make our own jokes. Whereas now they're trying to stay more faithful to the original script. And some things do just get lost in translation.
Yeah. I think sometimes it is better just to, rather than just translating what is there, you adapt it for the audience, because it's the same as when they try to when you see it multiple times where they take a British show and they then adapt it for American audiences, and they keep the jokes the same, and it just suddenly becomes
doesn't land
the same. Yeah, so I completely take your point. Anything else about this episode?
It's fine.
Okay, I did enjoy it. I do quite like the odd episode where we don't follow Ash, Go, and Chloe, and it is just let's give someone else a time to shine. which is kind of like the next episode. So episode 17, Big Brother to the Rescue. Over at Cerise Labs, Grookey has lost its stick. Yamper quickly finds it, and what we get is Yamper's episode of him just him or her, I don't know actually, helping a variety of Pokemon with their issues, including breaking up a fight, helping Heracross, figuring out why the waterfall's dirty, tracking down the Pokemon, and helping Suicune purify the water. It's just Yamper's episode of just helping everyone out.
Yeah, it's very cool. There's a whole there's a bit of a mystery because there's fights going on because it starts off with the rock Pokemon have invaded.
That's it, yeah.
And then they go to where the rock Pokemon usually are, and the Bruxish is causing a horrible sound, which has pushed them all away. But the Bruxish is making a horrible sound because there's mud in the water. But there's mud in the water because Grimer's in the waterfall. But Grimer's in the waterfall because it gave up its nest for Froakie. There you go.
Yep.
So they go on this roundabout journey, and it's like, oh, Froakie settled now. Grimer, you can move back in here. Everything's sorted. And then, yeah, as you say, Suicune shows back up out of nowhere, purifies the water, and then basically knights Yamper.
Yeah, right. Okay,
that's
sure.
It's so cool.
It's cool, but how does that work in any context? I don't know, but yeah, it is cool.
But it's fun enough episode. It's a Yamper episode. I was always going to like it.
Yeah, it's a Yamper episode. It's fun for what it is. And we do get a bit of a, end episode sting where it finishes with Ash having his next battle scheduled with Raihan.
Which we always said was going to be his big move into episode 8. Or the top 8.
Yes. So big battle coming up. Actually, I do want to point something out, actually. There was loads of stills in this episode. Like, a ridiculous amount of stills. Like, when they're walking as well, it wasn't even like they were animated walking. It was just like almost one position, next position, one position, next position. There was a couple of, and I get it. I absolutely understand if you're going to put your creativity somewhere, it's not going to be in an episode that can just be missed, and it makes no difference whatsoever. But we've been proven right in the past that, when you typically have a couple of episodes where the animation isn't as, fluid, I guess, when you do get an episode where something big happens, typically it makes up for it.
Yeah.
So I'm confident that is, with us getting to the Raihan battle next, and then we're going to go into the Masters 8, and the animation, I'm hoping, is going to be really good. I can forgive them for being a little bit lazy. I say lazy, just like managing their resources.
Saving.
Yes.
Cost and resource saving.
Yeah.
Laziness is very much the wrong term. I'm not
yes.
attacking
you
agreed. On that. It's
just, no.
I just wanted to make ourselves clear. That's not what we think. Animators, we know you're overworked. We're sorry.
We're sorry. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the animation in the future episodes. Let's move on to probably the one we wanted to discuss the most out of these 3 episodes. So episode 18, Catching the Aura of Fate.
I don't care if that's what they think it's called. It's called Lucario Learns the Spirit Bomb.
Pretty much. Of all Pokemon as well, Greninja, we get Greninja. Now, I was somebody who, I didn't watch the Kalos series, so I didn't know much about Ash's journey with Greninja, other than the fact that he had the Battle Bond ability, and we got to see an alternative form for Greninja. So I was always going to be excited when they said, Greninja's coming back, and we get to see. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the bond, do we?
No.
Which is one of the things I did really want to see. But what we got here was a really interesting episode. That, like, it's strange sometimes when you watch the anime and you think that you've seen a character's arc reach its end, and you get more of it.
Yeah,
like I thought Lucario is one of them that, like, the old arc was Riolu wanting to be really good at fighting, then eventually becoming the Lucario. You thought, okay, the arc's done, but then you get more of the arc, such as like when
it's working out how to mega evolve.
Yeah, and then when it refuses to mega evolve in a fight because the timing is like they're constantly taking this Lucario and going like a Pokemon that we have seen so many times in the games and the anime and even movies before, and yet they still manage to bring out new things to develop it.
And it's really cool because it's a callback. You're talking about the movies. We had Lucario and the Aura Guardian.
Aura Guardian sounds right, yeah.
Lucario and the Aura Guardian, where we find out that Ash is aura sensitive. And then that's touched on again in X and Y, where Ash is aura sensitive with the Lucario. And what's her face? Rollerblader. Karina, yep. Recognizes that Ash is aura sensitive, and so does her Lucario. And it's kind of implied in this episode, because we never really knew what Battle Bond was. We never really knew what Ash Greninja was. It's kind of implied here that it's just aura. You know,
right.
Ash is sensitive to it. Lucarios naturally are sensitive to it. The bond that Ash and Greninja had made their aura, their life energy intermingle. And it was really cool back in X and Y where you used to be able to see, you know, you had, yes, Ash Greninja, but he also had his water shuriken that got really big. And Ash would often do the moves alongside Greninja, which was such a phenomenal, like, as a visual spectacle, seeing these two in, like, the blue hues, and the animation for X and Y was obviously amazing. And then they'll do the same move, and then they overlap each other, and then we'll zoom out and see the Pokemon do it and land the attack. Really cool. And they bring that back. And it seems like they've gone, we're not giving you Ash Greninja again. Big sad, no Ash Greninja. But Lucario's taking that spot now. Lucario is going to be not as connected, maybe, but connected enough on that same kind of aura, spirit, life energy level with Ash that he can now use his, I wanted to call it Rasengan. That's really bad. He can now use his spirit. What's the actual move called? Aura Sphere. His Aura Sphere, and stick it above his head alongside Ash, and they go bigger, bigger.
Give me all of your energy. Lend me your energy.
It's cool. It's pure spectacle, and I'm about it.
Oh, definitely. How we get there, though, it's an interesting episode because we end up in there's a couple of things that go on.
We fight nebulous roots.
Yeah.
Nebulous evil roots, which is never explained.
No, it's not. So they just end up in the woods trying to track down Greninja, and then you see these. Yeah, there's no other way to describe it. They are roots that they stick out a little bit because the animation is very fluid, isn't it? Compared to it doesn't look like the cartoon, so it sticks out a little bit. But the fact that they never actually explain, like, is this forest evil? Is there something corrupt it? But no, there's just root. I think it's just a way to kind of go, okay, how can we have these Pokemon battling and learning these skills without actually hurting anybody? Let's just give the roots that are alive. And like Greninja at the start of this just absolutely outmatches Lucario in every way, just like constantly just like shifting and moving, and then like Lucario will go past and Greninja will like playfully tap it and then like vanish and move around again. Greninja was playing with it, but I don't think at any point Greninja was doing it out of spite or pride or boasting. It almost felt like, okay,
I'm a pusher.
Yeah, you are in the place that I was, and I need to make sure you are good enough. And in a weird sense,
it's the same thing Gary did to Go.
Yeah.
Or the same thing that Kiawe did to Go.
Yeah.
I have fought alongside this person. I know what they're capable of. I need to make sure that you're up to the task.
Yeah. And while Go's outburst at the time felt it felt right, to be fair, because he was like, no, I'm not Ash's rival. You've got me all wrong. I've got my own journey and everything else. Like, Lucario and how Lucario handles it I think it's in character.
Yeah.
Because Lucario just gets absolutely frustrated because we've seen time and time again that Lucario is fair play to Ash, like, he's built a team of fighters, like Pokemon that will just keep going and going and go. Like, we've seen it with Pikachu before. Lucario, Sirfetch'd, like, they are Pokemon that, like, they are surviving fights that they shouldn't be surviving because they are fighters. So to see Lucario just become so frustrated with the fact that this Greninja is outpacing him in so many ways. And then, like, Lucario, like, to the point where Lucario, it seems like it tries to trigger Mega Evolution on its own. Did you get that as well?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But like, the way I read that scene was, like, Lucario's can't be Ash Greninja, so decides to Mega Evolve, but then is so off balance and frustrated that it doesn't work, and it runs off into the wild. And fair play to Ash. Ash doesn't go after Lucario because he just knows what Lucario needs at that moment is what Greninja will give it, not what Ash will give it. And they head to, like, a pool of water, and they just, like, move their legs ever so slightly in this pool of water. And
lovely bit of silent storytelling as they make the ripples in the water cross over each other and feel the energy, feel the flow of energy.
And
it's
you
cool.
know what?
It's cool.
Yeah. And you know what else is real positive about this episode? Is it's one of those episodes where it shows and doesn't explain. There have been too many episodes where something happens on screen and you as an adult viewer go, yeah, I know exactly what they're doing. And then it cuts to going, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, Ash did this. It's like, yeah, we know, we saw it. We don't need to be explained. And this is one of the episodes where, like, nothing really gets explained, but just what they show on screen is enough to explain it. Yeah. Like, it's an absolutely fantastic
It remains
episode.
Mysterious.
Yes.
But in a good way. Like, there are some things of the Pokemon universe where I'm like, that's a mystery and I don't understand it. This is like, no, that's just mysterious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a, you know what, I really enjoyed this episode. Really enjoyed it for what was basically a training montage episode, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and agreed. You know what, actually, one thing we haven't touched on, it keeps cutting back to Raihan. We actually get backstory for Raihan as well. Like, and he's really...
A little bit.
We
can see, like, his Duraludon and stuff.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he's, like, really down on himself, and the fact that he has, like, one of the most frustrating losses in his life, and he punches the wall, doesn't he? And then he turns and takes a photo, and he's got that photo on his phone of, like, his most embarrassing defeat is, like, a way to kind of motivate him. Because, like, Ryan's another one of those characters that, like, he has to me what is quite similar to Hop. Hop loses in the game over and over and over again to your character, and Raihan has gone through that with Leon, because Leon's never lost, but Raihan is confident that he is Leon's rival, which means that they must have fought several times. And
I was gonna bring that up because he's at the bottom of the Masters 8.
Yeah,
you know, he's 8th and Ash is 9th.
Yeah,
but do you think he's only there because he keeps fighting Leon? So, like, if he'd fought anyone else in the Masters 8, he'd be a lot higher. But he's like, no, my sights are set on Leon, and that's who I'm going to beat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then because he doesn't, he keeps pushing himself lower in the ranks.
I like that idea, actually, because he, in the games, he's a competent trainer. But the fact that anyone that can consider Leon a rival must be good at Pokemon, like, to the point where they're probably thinking, if I just had that edge, I could beat the champion. But he can never figure out what that edge might be. So the fact that he's up there in the Masters 8 means that, like, he must be a really competent trainer. He must be, like, the fact that he's in the top 8 in the world says a lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, considering, like, all the others are champions.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those annoying things, actually, where, sorry, not annoying for us, but probably what is annoying for him is that if he'd have been born 10 years earlier or 10 years later, he'd have been
the very best.
Exactly.
Arguably,
maybe.
no, because he wouldn't have had Leon to push him to that extent.
True. That's a really good point. Like, actually, you know what? This is making me really want to... I can't wait to get to this episode when they actually have that fight, because I think it isn't just going to be a fight. I think we're going to get so much, like... There's so much riding on it in terms of, you know, how does Ash get into the top 8? How does Ash feel about it? How does Ryan feel about it? How does everyone in the world feel about, oh, this major upset, this kid that's come from nowhere and he's like constantly jumping up and he's managing to do this. And then Leon thinking, okay, one of the trainers that, you know, I would... Sorry, do we ever hear that Leon considers Ryan a rival, or is it one
he doesn't.
way? No.
It's a one-way relationship.
Okay.
Leon doesn't feel like he has a rival.
Yes. But to Leon, though...
Because he expressed that he was like, no, I've done it. I've peaked.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is as good as it gets because there's no one else to push me.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to, like, just Leon going, okay, Ryan was never my equal, but he was probably he was probably the one that pushed me the most. And there's somebody that's managed to beat him.
Mm.
Like, I'm looking forward to seeing what Leon's... Like, I can't wait for this fight now. I've hyped myself up this episode.
We'll have to catch that next week.
In
the meantime, Ben, do you want to play a game?
I do want to play a game. In front of Conor, he has 3 Pokemon with 3 Pokedex entries each. But can I spot the fake entry?
Okay, your first Pokemon for this week is Suicune. Suicune embodies the compassion of pure spring... Oh, sorry. Suicune embodies the compassion of a pure spring of water. It runs across the land with gracefulness. This Pokemon has the power to purify dirty water. Dex entry number 2. It dances across the surface of lakes and rivers. With every step, it purifies the water at its feet. And number 3. This Pokemon races across the land. It is said that north winds will somehow blow wherever it appears.
Okay. I am slightly confident that we've done Suicune before.
We have. We 100% have.
Okay. Therefore, I vaguely remember the third one being true, unless you have played like a 4D chess game and taken my fake one and bought it back against me.
That would have been clever.
That would have been very clever. So I don't think it's number 3. So I think it's between 1 and 2. Obviously, they both mention about purifying the water, okay? So this is where I'm struggling now, because they both mention something that I know is factually correct. So I'm going to go based on the fact that it purifies with every step. So I'm gonna say the first one's fake.
Okay. No, the second one was fake.
Oh.
With every step it takes is a fake Dex entry.
Oh, right. Okay. Very well done. Very well done.
So, on to number 2. Raikou. The fur on Raikou's back... Sorry. The fur on Raikou's back builds up a static charge. As the individual hairs rub together, they give off the sound of thunder. Dex entry number 2. Sorry, words are hard. A Pokemon that races across the land while barking a cry that sounds like crashing thunder. And Dex entry number 3. The rain clouds it carries lets it fire bolts of lightning. No, that's not what that says. Read the actual entry. The rain clouds it carries let it fire thunderbolts at will. They say that it descended with lightning.
Okay. I'm going to go with number 3 being fake.
Okay. No, number 1 was fake.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I think my delivery didn't help much on that one.
No, it's all, to be fair, like you got to the third one, I completely forgot what the first one was, so I went with 2 and 3. But yeah, okay,
yeah,
right.
No, it doesn't create static charge in its fur that gives off thunderous sound.
Okay.
Can you guess what the third Pokemon is?
See, I think I can, but you might just pull a 180, which I've done in the past, and the third one was Weedle or something. I'm gonna say Entei.
That might be the only question you get right today. Let's find out.
Wow.
Next entry number 1. It is said that when it roars, a volcano erupts somewhere around the globe.
Okay, I know that one's true.
Number 2. A Pokemon that races across the land. It is said that one is born every time a new volcano appears. And number 3, Entei embodies the strength of an erupting volcano. It runs across the land, carving new pathways for itself through mountainsides with the immense temperature of its fire.
Oh, okay. So the second one, like the red flag there for me is the fact that, like, there's more than one, even though this was a Pokemon that resurrected by Ho-Oh, which makes you think maybe it's that one. But then the third one, like the heat of it running through mountains. Oh, okay. It's a toss up here. It's like the first one. It's a flip of the coin. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with number 3.
Number 3 is correct. That is the fake entry.
Oh, I got one. Oh, I'm happy with that. This is so difficult.
I know,
love it,
right?
though. Yeah, it's not easy. Like, for other people, they might think it's really easy, but it's like when you're on the spot and you get bombarded with facts and you're trying to figure it out. And the only reason I knew with Entei that the first one was correct was Terminal Montage's video where all the legendaries fight. Have you ever seen it?
Yes.
It's like, and I watched the breakdown of it, and like it's the fact that when Entei just barks, it's like bark, 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 and every time a volcano erupts, I just remember that. So that's why I knew the first one was correct. That I really enjoyed that. Is it my turn to quiz you next week?
Would you like to go back to you, or do you want me to do another one?
I'll tell you what, you do another one. I do enjoy it.
Yeah,
You
let's do
another
it.
one.
Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's move on to comments and questions. If you've got a comment or a question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our Discord, a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, or by using the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter. If you are I don't know if you do it on YouTube or I do it for the podcast, there are loads of links down below to show you where to leave a comment or a question. So please do. So the question that we've got this week comes courtesy of Gym Leader JC on YouTube. Now that Ash, being the main protagonist, has come to an end, at least for the foreseeable future, what are some of your favorite moments from the anime? Have you got any? Because like I've not watched it anywhere near as much as you.
So my number 1 is actually a really, really old one, and it comes from the Johto series. And it was the first time Ash beat Gary. He was in the Johto League. I think they weren't semi-finalists. But Ash goes up against Gary. And of course, Gary has been his main rival up until this point, has given him shtick up until this point, and Ash wins. And it's a phenomenal battle and a huge turning point, not only in Ash's character, but the relationship between these two, and the echoes of which we still see today. Gary's a little bit of a turd, but we get along. He has always just been there to push me. And, after that, Gary accepts, like, no, okay, Ash is better than me. All right, fine. I'll go off and do other things. That's okay. And it's such a huge moment for the anime because, this had been the Kanto series, the Orange Islands, now Johto. This has been our main rival all the way through, and our main character finally overcame them. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome point in the anime.
And so I haven't watched as many. I've watched up to some of Johto. So I watched the original, watched the Orange Islands, watched some of Johto, and then came back for Journey, and then watched the odd episode of Sun and Moon with my daughter. I think so I'm going to go with something that might not be my favorite, but it's the one that's one of the most memorable moments. And it's like Ash's head drop when he loses in the league, when his Charizard refuses to fight. And just because, like, watching that back when I was a kid and not understanding anything about story structures and things like that. Like, I expected Ash to win that fight. I expected Ash to win the next fight. I expected Ash to win the whole damn thing because I was a kid and I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand story structures and the fact that, like, if you make Ash the best there, then you can't make him. It'd be very hard to make him the best somewhere else because like, once you reach the top, where do you go from there? So
Yeah.
I'm so looking back though and thinking about it at the time, just feeling really gutted for Ash and seeing his head drop and like the Charizard just asleep and just.
And what's so crazy is that was told to us from the very beginning that he was going to lose.
Yeah.
If you think about the opening, that's like the first image of Ash we ever see is him with the spotlight on him, with his shadow going in that X as he stood there, as everybody filters out, and he just goes, I've lost, it's over. We all
Wow, yeah.
somehow, like subconsciously, we always knew, but yeah. Oh, what a pick. What a pick.
And it's the fact that, like, actually thinking about it, the whole Charizard subplot, like, I mean, like, thinking back, actually, as a kid, I just thought, oh, haha, funny, Charizard is disobeying, Charizard is lighting Ash on fire, but actually, like, they were setting up that story beat to pay off.
I'll tell you what, another memorable moment, because you've set me up now, is where he fights Lorelei. So it's in the Orange Islands, and her Poliwhirl freezes Charizard, and he sits there all night trying to defrost it. And it's that moment that Charizard goes, "Yeah, I got you pegged wrong. Yeah, you do deserve me."
And then Ash wins the rematch, doesn't he? Because him and Charizard have bonded. I completely forgot that was Lorelei. But I remember that episode because don't they fight on a beach? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that is. I always love that moment whenever it's in a TV show, movie, a book, or a video game where you hit the bottom that you can possibly hit, which in that case is Charizard just absolutely getting wiped. And then then how you come back from that, and that moment where it's like, oh, Charizard is obeying Ash. This is we've had a season and a bit. We've had how many episodes where Charizard just refuses to obey? And now he does. Oh, phenomenal moment. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, you know what? Comment for everyone else. Like, what's your favorite anime, like, moment? Because I'd love to know what other people's moments are. And if it's from a series that I haven't seen, I'll watch it on YouTube. I'll watch it and then, like, think about it so we can talk about it. Have you got any more?
No, that's me. I think we need to wrap up, unfortunately.
I think we do. What content have you got coming up at the moment?
I'm still in my little hiatus at the moment, so nothing as of yet.
Okay, fair enough. I've got, I think I mentioned about Pokemon Infinite Fusions last week. I don't remember it. Yeah, I did. So episode 1 will be going live next week. It is a really enjoyable game. And really difficult, but I am playing on hard mode, so maybe that's why. The game is very unforgiving, and what I've kind of realized quite early on is if you take if you fuse two Pokemon together, you do get some of the best elements, but you get some of the worst elements as well. And I kind of went into that game thinking, I've fused two really good Pokemon, therefore I've got an unbeatable Pokemon, when actually I've got a Pokemon with extra weaknesses and maybe like abilities don't match up with the moves it's got, or its nature doesn't match up with the moves that it's got. It's a really interesting experience, and I hope people tune in and like it and watch it. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? Connor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget, or on Twitter at CapFidget.
I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on the usual platforms. Search for Goldenrod Podcast on YouTube or on your usual podcast app. Leave a like on YouTube or a 5-star review if you're listening as a podcast.
Especially if you like the new video format. Please do. Please let us know if you like this, because it's more work. Come on, guys. We're putting in the effort for you.
Like it. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon Podcast content. See ya.